Why is this not live? Why is this not live? A little bit of a problem, isn't it? Maybe if I tweet, did it pop up? It usually has a automatic notification. There we go. Okay, sorry, that took a second. Maybe if it's always something different. Just like police chases, it's always something different with the tech, especially on Twitter. All right, people, welcome back. It's Monday here in the United States for the first time in a minute. Hope everyone had a nice weekend. I'll be here with you through tip-off of tonight's games. Let's see, it's 3:21 back on Pacific time. The Buenos Aires is 5 hours ahead of the west coast of the U.S. So not jet lagged, more tired than jet lagged. And of course, so I get back. Here's a quick story of the process of WOB. I have always, please allow me this opportunity while you guys join the chat. I can see you. Hello. Appreciate you, Dylan. When's the next police chase? It's been like 2 weeks since we've had one. Okay. So I've spoken about this a couple of times, but for a new audience that maybe just started following, please allow me this opportunity to explain. So when you are a one-man shop when it comes to content creation, a lot of the work that is necessary is required overnight. That's when you are editing videos, when other people are sleeping, you're writing your scripts, you are preparing content for the next day. I do a radio show in the morning, so you're getting topics ready, looking up some important stats, whatever. That's the type of work that no one sees because someone that's following you only gets presented with the final product. So, of course, the one thing that I am asking not to happen is an NBA game that becomes such a calamity that it requires me to do a WOB investigation for, of which no NBA games have qualified yet this season. It has to be ludicrous, intense, dramatic, have a story to tell, and hopefully some precedent or history involved at the same time. And that happens last night. So I'm on a red eye from Buenos Aires to Los Angeles, about 15 hours total of fly time. I am forcing myself to stay awake so that I don't get jet lagged, and I just can get back on schedule right away. Just got to fade any intense NBA game that requires me to do post-game work. And then Suns versus Lakers happens. And so I am now up until well after midnight when I plan to go to bed at 10, 11 o'clock to get back on schedule. I start downloading and cutting the videos of all Dylan Brooks versus LeBron James last night. And there was so many moments of hostility that they went to the monitor 8 times for reviews. 8. So I download all the videos to the point that I can't see straight anymore, and I just have to go to bed. And if that means I have to sacrifice a WOB investigation or delay it a little bit, I had to do it. And it's the first time in a long time where I can tell the process and the story of the process and what's required to create high-level content. You better have a situation in your life that affords you the opportunity to either stay up all night, sleep different patterns. If you have kids, if you have another job, This is why it's so difficult to remain consistent, especially when I was really on the up and up in the 2010s. I was doing this shit like all night, every night, no social life, always just creating content, never ending cycle. And it's those hours that you put in during the graveyard shift that I think only other creators or people knowledgeable about the industry can appreciate. So I woke up, since I went to bed at a decent hour, I got up at like 6 or 7 in the morning. I had about 3.5 hours before the radio show. So I got 3 hours of work done, plus the 2 hours downloading and cutting the videos. And then once the radio show ended, it took another 30 to 35 minutes to top it off, review it, make sure all the transitions add, the swipes and the dissolves, all the graphics, the spotlights. Every time you see a spotlight, it takes an extra 5 minutes. Then I had to do the captions for LeBron calling Dillon Brooks stupid, because you're stupid. And he was talking about, he threw the ball at my fucking head. How did I just lose my internet? The fuck is that? Am I back? Okay. Who knows? Sorry about that. Anyway, then the exporting it takes 30 minutes. Uploading it to Twitter is a complete disaster. The worst uploader, they broke the uploader. Takes forever, and it can't handle large files. So I had to try through the Ad Studio, direct through desktop, direct through the phone. There was a couple of times with errors, and I eventually got it through. That takes another 45 minutes. And here we are today. I find that's where it's present time, where I get to do a live Q&A with you all. It's a lot of work, man. Those WAP investigations take usually between 6 to 8 hours. This one took closer to 8, considering it was almost 10 minutes. The 5 to 7 minute ones take 5-ish hours. Because then you also have to write this. I write the scripts to speak over the top, and then you got to splice up the audio to match the videos. So that takes an extra hour and a half. So just be cognizant of that if you dare get into this wild industry. That's all. Thank you for listening. I am now yours. Feel free to ask questions or respond as you may see fit. But if you haven't seen the video, it's pinned to my Twitter timeline. And I hope you go watch, because last night it was certainly worth it. And here to discuss. Some people feel like the Suns got done dirty. Some feel as though LeBron fouled Dillon Brooks on that 3. Some believe that Dillon shouldn't have been so hostile. Just get your ass back and you probably win the game. What's up, Helwick? We are back in the United States. Good to be back. It's only good to be back because it is high 60s, not a cloud. There's one cloud in the sky here in the beach in California. There's most of the United States is in a stranglehold of single-degree weather Fahrenheit. No, I will never do that again for the rest of my life. Never again. I am a weather snob. That's all I care about, being in good weather. So I went to the beach right before this, got an hour to go walk around, get it out of my system, back in the grind. But Buenos Aires, highly recommended city if you enjoy places where you can just exist and live. That's what I would. Buenos Aires doesn't have a Roman Colosseum. It doesn't have the Parthenon. It doesn't have King's Landing in Dubrovnik. It doesn't have the Osaka Castle in Japan. It's a livable city where you can just take your work with you and blend into society. It's very safe. It's easy to get around. The food is fantastic. People look good. There you go. So I will certainly be back. Maybe I'll go to Patagonia when I just can't do it when I'm working during the day because I'm doing this show. I'm doing radio show, watching games. I can only get away for a couple hours, but it was a fun city to just live, work, and exist in. Absolutely. Doug says it sounds like my comm assignments. Communications is what I think you're discussing. Game of the Night asks Dylan in the chat. Shout out to Prophet X. Well, it's certainly not Monday Night Football. Pistons Celtics with Peyton Pritchard. So we got downgraded earlier today. And now he's in the lineup. Very rarely do players survive that downgrade. But that is not the game of the night because we scroll down to the second game on Peacock. Rockets, Nuggets. Practically a PK. We got Charmander versus Charizard, or maybe Charmeleon versus Charizard. Battle of the Flamingos. This is a big statement game for the Rockets. They're kind of on the fringe of Denver and OKC and being like the title contenders. Go out there and show us something tonight, even though we know Denver's missing some guys, and I will potentially be thoroughly impressed. Detroit or Boston tonight? I will go Detroit plus 1.5 right here. Plus 101 on ProfitX, which means you can probably get it at 2. Let's see. 109. There you go. I'll take Detroit plus 2 minus 109. I took some of the nastiest beats over the weekend, and I will only tell you about them if you ask, because I am trying to move on, and it's not good for my mental health. The Warriors did not help on Friday, losing to an Anthony Edwards-less Wolves team. Corey says, it is so cold here in Northwest Ohio, ready for the Pistons to kick ass. Not a Cavs fan, huh, Corey? I wouldn't be either, considering how banged up and mortal they look. That is not the same Cavs team that we have been used to the past couple seasons. Now they're missing Strus, missing Evan Mobley, just got Jared Allen back. Garland obviously has been banged up. They look so mortal. Have you seen the list of calf injuries this year, by the way? I don't know if I can show you because I'm using my phone, but it is an extensive list of guys from Giannis to Wemby to now Austin Reeves, Dylan Harper. The list goes on and on with all these big names, all the way down to Ty Jerome, Bilal Coulibaly, Larry Nance Jr. They've all missed time due to the calf injury. So this conversation of the NBA schedule being so front-loaded with 3 games in 5 days, road back-to-backs, because now they take practically a week off for the Cup, where they play maybe 1 game. The Cup is going to dominate the scheduling, well, ever since the semifinals, the quarterfinals, and now tomorrow night in Las Vegas. Then they get a day off. Not a lot of games are going to be played by teams not involved in this particular tournament. So you go from way too many games to hardly any. So that's not good for the fan looking for consistent output. It's probably not good for the players because you're not able to practice during 3 games in 4 nights or 5 days, back-to-backs. You're not practicing, and now you have an all-star break of time off in the middle of the season. So are you using that to get back up to speed? Are you in the gym? Are you laying in bed? It's just something there is resulting, plus the new style of the game where all of these big guys are no longer running on linear paths from rim to rim. The big guys are responsible for switching and patrolling the 3-point line. And there has to be a consensus reason why so many dudes are suffering calf strains. This is an epidemic at this point, is it not? I'm not speaking in hyperbole. The calf strain is the NBA's biggest problem right now. And they're never going to decrease the games because that's taking money out of their pockets. So are we headed for a potentially even longer schedule where they stretch it out to avoid back-to-backs? We were blessed with brilliant basketball on Saturday, but once again, it is only a small quantity of games that qualify where we are seated, must-see television, right? For every single Thunder versus Spurs game that, if not for opening night, may have just been considered the best game of the season, for every one of those is 10 Hornets versus Cavs. LaMelo Ball, Evan Mobley, just everybody out. And yeah, that game went to OT, but the quality of the product is so noticeably different depending on the slate that we're looking at right now. Like Pistons Celtics should be a banger. Raptors Heat, also pretty decent. But whether it's Mavs, Jazz, Grizzlies, Clippers, if there's a 10-game slate, usually 7 of those are just dogs with fleas. So the product gets saturated, and then fans grow apathetic because a majority of them are being introduced to the saturated product. Not everyone is sitting at home with 5 screens watching all the games like I would assume a lot of you are. At least I am. That's not realistic. Hilwick says the Warriors always lose those type of games. They do. I've now been burned twice. First by Ryan Rollins in the Milwaukee Bucks, and now I beat the Anthony Edwards line by 5 points. So any CLV, closing line value game this season of, let's call it between 5.5 and 6 points, every single one has not only lost against the spread, they've also lost straight up. I mean, it's just a statistical anomaly. I've been betting CLV in the NBA for a decade. I'm about to go damn broke. Why would I not buy a stock that I know is going to jump the moment after I buy it? I'm like instantly in the black, but I don't get to play the game. I have no control over that. I can only control the markets. And I'm taking a fucking bath right now. And the Warriors aren't helping. Carter James says, really appreciate your grind to NBA content. I have other shows for NFL, college football. You're the main guy I tune into the NBA. I appreciate that. Now, do you guys, I consider most of you that are watching this are younger than me. Now, you're talking to a Twitter veteran that's been on here since 2008-ish, right? So I have gone through several different audience demographics. I've gone through different technologies of when you couldn't even put pictures on the internet. Now you can live stream in one click. Isn't that amazing, by the way, that YouTube was 4 years behind Periscope? 4 years it took YouTube to put out a live product compared to Meerkat and Periscope. So going through different technologies, and now it's more Gen Z is the dominant social media user. I can also study the behaviors of a lot of that generation versus mine. And it seems like to me they support positive reinforcement, think hyperbole and speaking towards something being very good, very, very good, or very, very bad. Long-winded way of me getting to the point where I think they support a lot more kumbaya content of celebrating things. And I don't know if I'm necessarily the right talent for that because I speak more with historical perspective. And if I don't like something, what's going on here? Okay. I speak more if I don't like something. I'm happy to critique it with some constructive criticism. And if I do support something, I never want to put on my pom-poms. It's more of an expectation because that's what we're paying for. As Don Draper would say, that's what the money's for. Okay. That's just my personality. I guess they call me cynical, but appreciate the comment nonetheless. Coach Mike, what's happening? Have we talked about this yet? The calf injury is the NBA's version of how every MLB pitcher has Tommy John. Well, yeah. Tommy John comes from those flame-throwing fastball guys, but you also curveball. It's very rare to have a fastball changeup splitter guy having Tommy John. It's because kids are throwing curveballs, and that's why by the time they get to the pros, they've thrown so many of them, they're Tommy John candidates. Logan asks, is it the declaration stuff causing all of this? Declaration. Deceleration causing all of this. Maybe. Even sports scientists and doctors are unable to provide us with a consensus answer. And I'm sure the NBA is spending millions on bringing in different doctors to try and help them solve this very obvious issue. Seth asks, will a Giannis to New York trade ever happen? More importantly, why would they want to do that with y'all rolling so far? you're speaking to a Knicks fan that wants no part of what you just proposed. I do not want my beloved New York Knicks to break up chemistry, which they have now formed over 2 to 2.5 seasons. They've been in the trenches together in a playoff series. Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns complement each other to perfection because Cat is now probably the unanimous best shooting center in the entire world. Having that floor stretching ability permits Jalen Brunson to operate in space. And Giannis is an MVP player, an all-time great. But what he does is going to drag an extra defender in the way of Jalen Brunson because nobody is running out to recklessly close out against Giannis shooting a three. So now, yes, you get Giannis. Yes, you probably add some things on defense, but you sacrifice that floor spacing chemistry, which Karl-Anthony Towns is an essential assembly line member of. So for me, I am not trading Karl-Anthony Towns for Giannis. I would prefer not to trade OG Anunoby. It is not an accident, by the way, that the New York Knicks record is ridiculous with OG in the lineup, that opponents' three-point percentage has plummeted ever since he returned to the lineup. If you're Milwaukee, you want to talk about dog with fleas. So they are still out here trying to make moves to sell Giannis on staying and retracting his trade proposal or his trade request. Not even a trade request, a proposal for a trade request, trade negotiation. Call it what you may. You just lost by 45 points to the Brooklyn Nets. You just lost by 45. They're playing decent basketball right now. You just lost by 45 points to the Brooklyn Nets. You are in no position to be making win now moves. 45 points. You sure you want advice from me, Lomax? The guy who, whatever I tell you to bet, it'll be the best number that you can possibly have, and then it'll still lose. I am so like doom and gloom right now. But I would take the Pistons +2. It's 1.5 on ProfitX, but you can get +2 at -109. James Harden is questionable tonight, people. So if he were to sit, that would mean you get a lot more from Kawhi's usage, but I'd be looking towards a John Collins usage going up or Zubac 17.5. Yeah, right. Those 25.5 points projected here for James Harden got to go somewhere else. So I'd look towards John Collins or Bogdan Bogdanovic overs. And then now I have to follow that up by saying I never recommend taking a pre-game over unless that line is going to change by 3 or 4 points. Because the moment the game starts, it's the equivalent of driving a car off of a lot that you just bought. It has lost, they say, between 3 and 5% of its value the moment you make a right-hand turn. You're already in the red. And that's the same with taking overs on prop bets, because once the clock starts, the live algorithm is based on how much time is left. So no matter what you bet, let's say, what was Bogdan, like 11.5? If he goes 1 minute without scoring, that line will change to 10.5. And all you had to do was just wait 1 minute to get a full point better line, unless he scores the first bucket of the game. Good luck. Eric Stottle in the chat says, it's simple. Humans aren't meant to be that big and that fast. Are they? Hakeem Olajuwon, Kareem, Robert Parrish, thinking of all these guys, Karl Malone, all these massive dudes who played 82 games. The Iron Men of their era. Like, why were they able to do it? And don't tell me because they were playing against plumbers or in half-court sets. The physicality at the rim was significantly more than it is now, but they had different injuries. They had different injuries regarded to the physical contact more so than the soft tissue injuries to calves and quads and those things. Coach Mike's making pork chops. I forgot to order groceries, so I have like an emergency stash of ground turkey, but I have no Rayo's. So I can't make spaghetti with meat sauce. I thought I had a jug of Rayo's left. I used up all my fajitas for burritos last night, or my tortillas for fajitas last night. I do not want to eat chicken nuggets for dinner. I have an emergency bag of chicken nuggets. Pork chops smell. I bet they smell amazing, but they sound amazing too. You guys is anyone old enough? Do you speak? Maybe it's just natural dyslexia. Sometimes instead of sound, I'll say smell. Today on the show, I was talking about the final play with LeBron where he got fouled. And the whole time I'm thinking about Devin Booker. But my mouth said Dylan Brooks, and I had to correct myself. Why is my brain like misfiring? Is this what happens? There was not 100 possessions less per game. You could argue the end of the 70s and the early 80s were even faster than they are today. And there's another guy, Kristaps Porzingis. So his illness is called TOPS or POTS. It's one of the two. I think it's POTS. And his illness involves his heart like beating through his chest for a 30-minute period, kind of randomly. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play consistently in the NBA again. This is part of human beings may not be designed to be this big. His heart works a lot harder than other people's because it's got to pump blood to further distances. POTS, P-O-T-S, yes. You've said glove department instead of glove compartment my entire life. Glove department. I may have done that as well. I did. I was so embarrassed once because the neighbor town to where I grew up in Rye, New York, it's called Port Chester, P-O-R-T Chester. For the first like 16 years of my life when I was a kid, I always thought it was Poor Chester, P-O-O-R Chester, and I called it Port Chester until someone finally was like, "Are you saying port or poor?" I'm like, "Isn't it Poor Chester?" And eventually, you get old enough, you start driving and realize you were wrong. But I had said that people looked at me cross-eyed. I could never figure out why. I should have known it's Port Chester. It's on the water, but postural or orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. Tachycardia syndrome. How did I do? It is manageable for sure. He's fine. Okay. Well, he's not playing in games, so it's got to be of some concern, I would think. Coming back from Argentina to emergency. Yeah, I know. I was going to order groceries last night before I went to sleep for them to get here today, and then I was up all night doing the WAB investigation. I didn't have the time. I haven't had time to do anything today besides poop, go for a walk, and content. Logan says, in grade 11, in front of the whole class, I had a brain fart and actually said gazebo effect instead of placebo. Thank you. All right. I'm not alone, at least. What else is on your mind? Nice to see my shitty internet. It's being all glitchy. Maybe I'll use I'm going to try the other internet, the slower one for Wednesday's show. We'll see how that performs. If you haven't already, once again, just joining us, I have the most recent WAD investigation pinned to my profile page for your viewing pleasure. Spent a lot of time on it, about 8 hours. So go in there and check it out if you enjoy those type of things. I don't want to be the guy that does WAD investigations every other day just for the sake of doing them. That would, like the NBA, dilute the product. WAD investigations are reserved for WAD investigation worthy moments. And that was the game between the Suns and the Lakers. You had Marcus Smart up by 20. All he had to do was make a wide open breakaway layup. And that 24-0 run was so absurd. I could suggest that the Phoenix Suns would have just, you know what, timeout. Let's put the bench in and see if they could pull off some miracle. If he just makes that layup. But no, he decides to throw a ball over his head, no look for no reason, trying to create a Showtime moment. It gets picked off by Grayson Allen, I think, and it results in 3 points at the other end. And that causes the Phoenix to rise from the ashes, pun intended. A furious comeback that gives them the lead in the final seconds. Oh, that was another game I had yesterday. Phoenix plus 1.5. And you'll be able to tell based on my tone in the WAD investigation. Marcus Smart gets fouled with 0.4 seconds left. So they end up winning by 2 points. And then he decides to intentionally miss the second free throw, which was risky as fuck. If he misses the rim, if it's an air ball or he hits the backboard with that laser that he threw, that's a violation. And Phoenix would have gotten the opportunity to inbound the ball with 0.4 seconds left, down by just 2. They didn't have a timeout to advance it, but there can be a before the ball is inbounded foul, which results in free throws, a catch and shoot Derek Fisher type situation from 3, and then you get beat. That was Marcus Smart last night from the pass behind his head to then 5-second game shot clock differential, challenging Ryan Dunn at the rim for some reason instead of just dribbling around. He's no rookie either. He's no rookie. How many times has he been in that similar situation, dribbling the ball out, dribbling the ball out, dribbling the clock out? But instead, he challenges Dunn, and it backfires as it's Dillon Brooks, of all people. Of course, it's Dillon Brooks to hit what was supposed to be the game-winning 3. So Marcus Smart had multiple instances of shit showness occur to him and his team last night. Gosh, that game had it had 9 minutes worth of content in a WAD investigation breakdown video. 9 minutes of things that you had to go over and discuss. How many times Dillon and LeBron were yapping at each other. Shenanigans every time down the floor. 20-point swings in a matter of minutes. Latest BS in the chat says, I thought the Viper car alarm was only the holographic snake from the commercial and not an actual alarm. I was like, that wouldn't work on me. Okay. Russell Westbrook 2017 visit to Kevin Durant was, WAD investigation? Tinfoil was out for that one. What did I even say? What did I even suggest was a conspiracy theory? Do you remember? What was my proposition for why that happened? Dylan says, I had the over in the Cavs game. The Cavs scored 0 points in overtime. That is a fact. When was the last time a team scored? And the Cavs are supposed to be the best team in the East against a zombie Hornet squad. How does that happen? Donovan Mitchell was out there, was he not? How does that happen? 5 minutes in an NBA game? Phoenix was held scoreless for nearly 7 minutes themselves. Almost impossible in today's game, the way that it's officiated. Basketball IQ is so low right now. So the point I was making, or Antonio and I had this convo on the show today, where he made me think that there's now a drastic difference between skill and talent. Skill is like Mitchell Robinson's skill is offensive rebounding and shot blocking at the rim. Duncan Robinson's skill is catch and shoot threes. Talent requires IQ to be involved as a common denominator in any sort of efficiency or production. If you have talent, it's because you're thinking about the game at a high level. The skill is the prerequisite. You're not making the NBA without being skilled. But I found it fascinating what Jalen Brunson had to say on his show about grassroots basketball, specifically AAU, being responsible for breaking kids' brains when it comes to learning the game. AAU now is just a social media platform of opportunity for kids to grow their brand so they can potentially get an NIL deal at the collegiate level. And in pursuit of viral highlights and clicks and followers and subscribers, the suggestion is, Antonio says this a lot too, that they are tuning out the fundamentals and end of game situations and basketball IQ plays, because no one, that's just worthless when it comes to engagement. If you make the right play fouling someone when they have their back turned to the rim when your team's up by 3, that's just not going viral. But watch this crossover. I bet this crossover ankle breaker pull up from the logo where I turn around and throw up some sign, that's going to go viral. So I'll be focusing all my time and energy on that shit. And then by the time they get to college in the NBA, Zion's Instagram run was, I assume, like a decade ago, a little more than a decade ago. That was really the dam breaking for a new generation of kids to realize that there's business in basketball that I can legitimately pursue if I'm able to attract attention the same way that he did. So don't be coming to me with shit that's going to be wasting my time. This is my focus. And a lot of those players that were following his lead are now getting to the league and getting to college. And I think you're seeing a lot of those sentiments reign throughout the newer classes of players, because basketball IQ in these is just so much lower. Antonio proposed that basketball IQ is a gift that is certain players are blessed with at birth. And I argued that it can be taught. Basketball IQ can be taught, but can it be learned is another. I'm curious what this chat thinks too. Can you learn basketball IQ? Because I can pay attention in a class, but when it goes out there and it's time to execute, someone like Tyrese Halliburton or Chris Paul is always going to be one step ahead of you. Are they blessed with that, or did they learn it through experience? This shit is so is it laggy for you guys too? This is so annoying. Logan asks, what would you consider your greatest or favorite WABvestigation? Tracking Kyrie during COVID was a good one. I found the place that Kyrie was out at. I forgot all the details. My memory is just so gone. There's a couple of the Miami Heat Detroit game with the Spoelstra timeout. That was a great one. There's been a couple. I have them all. The one good thing that Twitter has done is they created a tab with highlights. So if you go to my profile page and click the highlight tab next to replies and posts, I have all the WABvestigations in the highlight section. So I can find, you can find answers to that. You know what? I'm going to do that right now. I'll tell you. Highlights. Oh, I forgot about the this one did 1 million views. How a Pelicans ball boy got teed up during a live game. Wow. That was only 3 minutes and 28 seconds. The algorithm liked that one. WOP investigation, how 1.8 seconds in Detroit felt like 31 years with Jalen Rose in the face that he made. That was a good one too. Helwick says, even as a Spurs fan, I can't stand the game of the year takes about Spurs Thunder. Good game, but final 90 seconds were a free throw contest. Oh, yeah. That game lasted so long that if you fly to Argentina, there's a internet Wi-Fi outage over certain pockets of the Amazon. And my internet was out for 20 something minutes. And it went out with roughly 2 minutes to play in the game. And when it came back, the game was, there's still like 5 seconds left, and they were looking at something on the monitor, which suggests it took 20 minutes. It felt like an eternity. I was anticipating coming back and having to catch up really quickly on what happened at the end of that game, and it was still on. The end of an NBA close game is tedious, and it's even worse in college basketball because they get to keep all their timeouts. But it's just not a watchable product. When they're going to the monitor every fucking second. One play equals 3 minutes. The ball goes out of bounds. We're going to the monitor for proximate review. We're going to the monitor to see if it was goaltending. Going to the monitor to see if the foot was on the line. All these things. It disrupts the game flow, and it gives Grant so many timeouts. Oh, Coach Mike. Russ said, don't talk to that dude, KD, when teammates went to dap him up afterwards. I forgot about that WOB investigation. Dude, this is part of getting old, I guess. I have no clue I did that. But it sounds like something I would do. And if you can remember specifically as it being your favorite, then I appreciate you for, you have to treat me like someone who has content dementia. Was there a WOB investigation for the police presence game? No, that was Secret Tunnel Night. Secret Tunnel Night was just a night of memes, and there were reports coming in until about 3:30 in the morning of there was word that Clint Capella was sent to the front of the locker room to be a distraction while Chris Paul took the team to the secret tunnel. Everyone's like, are you fucking kidding me? What is happening? And there was memes of the Jurassic Park scene where the Velociraptor, as they're crawling through the tunnel, sticks its head up. It's just like, oh my God, that was Twitter at its absolute best. And you got inside the NBA guys, just, they can't even speak English. They're just laughing into the microphone for like 30 straight minutes because there's a police presence being called. A police presence. Where the hell is inside the NBA, by the way? It's been a month since we last saw them. We're not going to see them again until the week of Christmas. And it's just on and off, and such a bummer. What do I want to do about fouling up three? It should be allowed. It's just not aesthetically pleasing. But you could always enforce unsportsmanlike fouls the way that FIBA does. If you give an intentional foul, they are much more strict about making sure you go for the ball. And if you don't, you can be ruled for unsportsmanlike, and then it backfires. If it's intentional, you suggest making it 3 free throws. I just don't know the answer, but I'm fine making anything remotely close to shooting motion on 3 shots. Yeah. And I do enjoy the game sometimes where the player is trying to bait. I'm sorry, the defender is trying to bait the shooter into taking a impossible swing through looking for contact, because then you're exposed in the air and you just got to launch something up. Because you can like run at them, stick your hand in there, and then take it back before they get into the shooting motion because they're looking for contact to get to the free throw line. Sometimes that's fun, but yeah. FIBA, that if the NBA would only just copy everything that FIBA does. Love watching FIBA games. I mean, the Olympic basketball, you guys still concur the Golden Dagger and international play at the highest level is the best form of the game of basketball. So good. And because it's 10-minute quarters, you get less timeouts, and the referees enforce physicality a lot differently. I love the goaltending rule where the ball's up on the cylinder. You can knock that shit away. Derek White did that to Draymond once, and Draymond took a logo 3, baited him into looking for contact, and then not only do they miss and lose the game, they look ridiculous, throwing up some shit that anyone who doesn't understand basketball would be like, what the hell was that? Why did he shoot it that way? He looks like an idiot. Any bowl season picks? Can you believe, Helwick, they just played Washington and Boise State played in a bowl game. Those are 2 good teams. They played on Saturday, and I didn't even know they played, and I'm in the loop on college football stuff. Bowl season is so dead if it's not the playoff. One of the problems with putting all these teams into the playoff now, you're talking about diluting products, bowl games are just worthless. Nobody shows up and cares. So my answer is no. But I did dabble on some Miami Hurricanes to win the national championship before they got in at like 60-1. So that's nice. I mean, 2 good teams. They played Williams and Madsen, Boise State and Washington, but it looks so empty. I've never seen SoFi that empty. Am I going to check out the Stuart Scott 30 for 30? Oh, yeah. Tar Heel, baby. You disagree with Helwick. Means everything to the guys playing and stuff. You see emotions, you know. Okay, so I mean, it means to someone that gets the opportunity to play, it's not going to be the NFL guys. I'm talking about the non-playoff stuff. They finally get in. It's their last game as seniors. Yeah. But that's the college football sicko equivalent of like us watching Hornets versus Wizards on a Tuesday. Is that the saying? Hornets on a Tuesday. I just don't know how much mainstream appeal there is for that type of content. Two minutes till tip off, my friends. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about today's programming, now would be the time to deliver. What am I going to eat for dinner, man? Should I order a burrito? I refuse to order takeout because the delivery adds an extra $20. How they just nickel and dime you with first processing fees, taxes and fees. Here in California, we have the delivery driver's fee to guarantee pay. Then you tip on top of it. So my overpriced burrito, which was $14, now costs $27 by the time I'm checking out. I would rather starve than to eat a burrito that costs that much. I would rather starve. I once starved myself on a flight from Newark to LA. Newark to LA, 6-hour flight, and I was hungry. Because the Newark terminal is so shitty if it's not a United flight. I think I was on Frontier or something. Frontier before it got bad. No, I was on Alaska. I was on Alaska. Newark to LA on Alaska is in the shitty flight terminal. And in the shitty flight terminal at Newark, they have one place for like snacks. They don't even have real food in the shitty terminal, the non-United terminal. Because United, that's their mecca, their home base. It was one of those newsstand shops, but they were selling bagels with cream cheese. And they tried to charge me close to $12 for a bagel with cream cheese, where they didn't even put the cream cheese on the bagel. They give you the little canister with a knife and you spread it yourself. So just toasted bagel with one. And I go, no, thank you. You can keep it. $12. I will starve myself. And I was hungry all the way to LA. But it was better to be hungry than pay $12 for a incredibly basic bagel with cream cheese. I would rather starve. Make a bagel for dinner. Oh, I can do something with the bagel. And I have nice bread too. I can do something with the bagel. I can put the chicken nuggets on the bagel and make a little chicken sandwich with some cheese. It's either that, I have emergency chicken nuggets, emergency fish sticks, and that's really it. If I don't like all those service fees, you don't like basketball. You know ball. Carter says, I was talking to my friends about this. Fouling up three so early and stretching out the game forces the team that's down to take their timeouts sooner and run them out before the end of the game. Preach. End of basketball situations, or end of game. Jesus. Here I go again. I just replace words with other words. And I don't even realize I do it. End of basketball situations. End of game situations. Only food airports need. Oh, Panda Express, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, generic pizza place, Chipotle or Baja Fresh. It needs a burrito place for sure. And Panda Express is just so much fucking sodium. I love Panda Express, but I can't. It's just too heavy and all that bad stuff. It is delicious though. Can't go wrong with burritos. Those are always healthy. On that note, we got tip-off in Boston, my friends. I'm headed to the TD Garden, at least virtually, and I'll be back with you guys on Wednesday. Same time, same place. Go check out the Law Investigation video. It's Gigi's in the chat. You guys wouldn't mind like retweeting the stream or doing whatever. That always helps. Shout out to ProfitX, sponsoring today's stream. And I'll catch up with you guys on Wednesday. Maybe we'll have something new to report. Good to be back. Good to be back. See y'all soon.